Hi everybody, thanks for joining for another Minecraft video. In our last episode we set up our world, and in that case we wanted a world with that had a couple different attributes: a beach, a river, some ocean, and some hills. So in this video we are going to start, both of my kids wanted a beach area, and we thought we would start with a boardwalk. I'm going to show you how to do that. This is going to be not necessarily a building tutorial, but more of a, I don't know, maybe we'll even call it a documentary of how we build. So there will be points when I'm talking and then points when I'm not as well. And in case you're wondering if what texture pack I'm using, this is actually the Faithful 32. I'm going to switch around a little bit, probably just as my mood strikes me, but for now that's what I'm going to go with. So let's start with the boardwalk, and the other thing I'm going to do is be using a little bit of WorldEdit here as well. So hopefully if you're not familiar with that, you can pick up on some of the things that I'm doing. I decided that I believe I'm going to do the boardwalk out of jungle wood, and actually I have the Just Enough Items mod installed as well. Makes it just a little bit easier for finding these items. So I'm going to grab a bunch of items that I think I'm going to use. I also have to decide what sort of lighting, because I believe I'm going to put some lighting up. So I have both glowstone and sea lantern. We'll just kind of have to see what how the mood strikes. So as you can see, I'm a little bit back from the water. I want to leave enough space. I think I'm going to put a little beach area in, maybe some beach umbrellas, some beach chairs, those sorts of things. I also, as I'm building this, eventually building this city, there's going to be some sections where I want to be freeform, and then there's going to be some sections where I want it to be in a little bit of a grid pattern. So I want to start thinking about that a little bit too, but for now I think I'm going to go with sort of a 5 wide. I'm going to kind of sketch this out. 5 wide boardwalk, and I think that should be about long enough. So if that's the general pattern, and I believe, as I said, I want to kind of do my a grid pattern, and I believe I want to do it in sections of 24. So I'm going to build this across. I'm also using WorldEdit, which for anyone who, if you do a lot of building in creative, it is a must-have. As I mentioned in the first video, this is not going to be an in-depth tutorial, but hopefully as you're watching me, you'll pick up on some tips. So as you can see, I picked up a wooden axe. That's the basic tool that you'll use for a lot of your building in WorldEdit. What I'm going to do here is select the wooden axe, and I am going to use my left mouse button and right mouse button. In this case, I'm going to use my left mouse button. That's going to select the first position, and now I'm going to count 24. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I'm going to put a block down, and then I am going to right click, and you can see in the pink that now I have a section of 24 blocks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come across 2, 3, 4, 5, put another block down. I am going to right click, and now I have a 24 by 5, which, if my math is correct, that's 120 blocks, so that is correct. So now what I can do is come in here, and I am going to see what the block ID is, and you can see that it's a 5/3. You really don't need to know what that means, other than what you can now do is go into some of these powerful WorldEdit commands, and I'm going to do set 5:3, boom. Saves me a tremendous amount of time. And what I can do is type DESEL. That's going to deselect that section, and now I have the entire thing set. Probably would have taken me 5 minutes. I'm done in a few seconds. So that's going to be the basic section of my boardwalk. Now what I want to do is put up a fence. So I'm going to do something similar here. I think I'm going to start with my fence. I think I want to go all the way across. We'll kind of see how this goes. I could probably use WorldEdit for this as well, but don't want to overuse that too much. And then I think what I'm going to do is every so often I'm going to put in 2 steps to come down. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and do a set of steps. And I'll do the same from over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and do a set of steps. I like that. I think that looks pretty good. As I mentioned, I think I also want to be able to do some lighting, and I believe I want the lighting, maybe what I can do is actually put the lighting here. And that, oops. That'll give me those lights. That way I can be fairly consistent on how I do this. I gotta think about how this is going to look, because what I really want to do, just to save myself some time when I'm building, is I'm probably going to do each of these 24 by 5 boardwalk sections in sections, so that I don't have to keep rebuilding them over and over again. So that reminds me, what I probably want to do is take these stairs out, because if I'm going to be building schematics, which are basically blueprints of each of these sections, I'm not going to be placing them basically together here at the end, and I'm not going to want to have to do that over and over again. So this is probably a good time to test this out, because I do not believe I want to put anything back here, because this is where I'm going to put my buildings that go behind the boardwalks. I believe this is okay. So now I'm going to show you how to copy individual sections from each piece, and this is another WorldEdit activity. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab the block. I always try to do this a little conservatively and make sure that I get everything I want. So I'm going to left click to select here. Oh, and I'm also, if you just have simply WorldEdit, you will not get the block outlines. That's actually another mod called WorldEdit CUI. It's a little complicated to install because you need also something called Light Loader. It's a light mod, but I'll put links in the description, but that's something that you may have to look up on your own to get a little bit more information about how to do that. So what I am going to do here, I actually always like to mark my edges with some red wool, so that way I know exactly where my borders are when I go to use this later. So I'm going to make sure that I'm up high enough to go higher than those glowstone lamps, and then I am going to right click, and then what I do is sort of float around and make sure that I have everything covered. And in this case, you can see that my entire 24 by 5, I guess it's actually 24 by 6 if you count the steps, section is covered. Now, what is interesting about actually, I will show you why I'm doing this in a minute. What's interesting about WorldEdit is it does take into account your air blocks. So as you can see, I moved this one in because I don't want it copying those air blocks. The other thing about WorldEdit when you were doing copy and pasting is that your orientation, in other words, the way that you are facing, is taken into account. So it is actually really important that you do not, whatever way you're facing, you'll see this when I paste it in here. If you're facing this way when you do the copy, and then when you go to paste it, you're facing this way, it is actually going to copy behind you. The reason for my hesitation is I'm actually going to move this one block in because I want to make sure that I have this precise on the size. So this should give me everything I need. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this from the middle. You know, actually I'm going to grab it from the left because I want to make sure that I'm doing that all of the time. So this is the orientation that I want to be. So I'm simply going to do a copy, and now it's in my clipboard. You can see that it's 1,050 blocks. That includes the air blocks. I believe there's a way to actually do this without copying the air blocks, but I am not going to worry about that. And actually, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and stand right in the middle, and I am going to do a paste. And most likely I will screw this up because I screw it up almost every time, and as you can see I did. This is a good because I used to stand in the middle and now I'm standing on the left. So this is actually a good opportunity to show you that mistakes are easily corrected by a simple undo. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to slide right back in here. I'm going to paste again, and I am all set. I think the only flaw in my logic is it leaves me this space in between. So let's see if something like this will work. So if I were to delete this block and I stand here and I do a paste, perfect. Now that does leave me a rather large section there without a break, but I think that's actually okay because that's a lot of steps to go down. I'm trying to think if when I'm going to be using this, do I want that many steps? And I think I'm overthinking this, and I'm just going to go with it. So now I can fill that in. Now, what I could do is I could grab a copy of this entire section and do the entire thing, maybe put 4 of them together and then save that as a schematic too. But I think for it doesn't take that long to paste these in, so I think I'm going to stick with this in the 24 block sections. And I do kind of like that I am going to be able to just kind of slide in there. I can do a paste again, fill that in, and I think I'm going to do, so that gives me 3 sections. I think I'm going to do one more. And that way I will have, if my math is correct, that will give us 4 sections, 96 blocks. I think that gives us enough beach area. Now, the other thing that I want to do, in case I want to use this section again, is you can actually save these schematics. And you can save them so that even, as you can see, I only have 1 item in my clipboard for the paste. You can't save multiples. So what you can do, though, is you can save that schematic. So it's SCHEM, short for schematic, save. You have to type MCEdit. I don't know if there are other options for that, but that's what I tend to use. And then you call it whatever you want. And in this case, I am going to call it Boardwalk. I want to make sure that I call out that I have it with lights, and I'm going to say 24 by 5. Done, and it's saved. And if I want to, say I had something else saved in my clipboard, and I wanted to be able to pull this up, what I can do is I can do load or excuse me, I can do SCHEM, schematic load, Boardwalk, light, 24x5, and it will tell me it's loaded, and now it can tell me that I can paste it. Now what I'm going to show you is what I was talking about before. So if I was standing this way and I did a paste of that schematic, you can see, oh no, where is it? Well, it's actually right there, because that was the way that I was facing when I saved it. So I think this video is about long enough for this episode. This just gives us a quick little start on our Boardwalk area, and hopefully this was able to show you how easy it is to use WorldEdit to do some of this work for you. And we'll be back in another episode later. So thanks for watching. We greatly appreciate it.